I'm one of the first half Black, half Asian artists to come out in Japan. So, there hasn't been a precedent. So I think they had a hard time marketing me in a way.
Over the past few years of making music, going to sessions, meeting with people, I've kind of like curated a group of people and producers that I really enjoy working with, and I feel like it's the right person when you feel comfortable sharing your deeper truths with them, because I think the best songs come when you aren't hiding parts of yourself, or even like you don't feel, at least for me, like I don't feel um, self-conscious when I'm in the booth and I'm trying like experimental things with my voice or belting a new note I haven't tried before.
When I'm creating, I always have like the world in mind because I feel like music is borderless and I want it to, I think, language doesn't really matter. So, of course, I am a singer in Japan, but then I want anyone in the world to, when they hear this, they can like groove to it or like, feel good.
So, tying it in with this idea of the new rules, I have, a question to each of you about defining these new rules in this time that we're in. And to you, Crystal, what were the set of like unspoken rules during the time that you started in the industry to how they've changed over the years?
Unspoken rules? That's a
Mm-hmm.
tough question. Hmm. Unspoken rules. Oh man, I need some time.
You know what I'm saying? Well, while you think about that, Umi, I want to know here in the US, like, what are the rules that you use to define for yourself as an artist, as a new artist navigating in the industry?
Mm.
Especially with now, I feel like it's a little bit, it's a lot different in terms of how people consume music than how we all consume music 15 years ago, 10 years
Hmm.
ago, 5 years ago. So, what are those
Yeah.
parameters for you?
I would say something I've learned is music is now like a full sensory experience for a lot of users. Like it's not just listening to it, it's also having visuals that can express the music equally, and then having an online presence so that people feel connected. And so it's like people, I guess, to really create a connection with fans these days, it feels like it's important to really, as an artist, be in contact with all those elements. So like really playing a part in the visuals that you create, and being a part of the projects you create, and being really like who you are on social media. Those are the keys, I think, rather than kind of fitting more of a societal norm. And it also seems like the stuff that is a bit left to center seems to go more and catch more, because people are just looking for more unique expressions these days.
Fair enough. How do you feel about that, Crystal?
No, I can totally see that. It's changed rapidly, I think, with the social media and streaming. People have, and the young generation have so much options
Mm.
um, and choice. And yeah, people, yeah, they choose whatever platform they they feel comfortable with, that they can feel close to the artist. Um, so
Hmm.
yeah, I feel like it's very inspiring for me to see Umi, because I feel like she uses that like very well. Like she makes it her own, and it's so natural too. It's not it's like you connect with your fans, and I feel like everything you put out is very organic. So it's so refreshing to see, and it's very inspiring to see, because I think it's such a hardcore, like, because there's so many out there, so many artists, new artists, people coming up with new ideas and new platforms. Um, I think sometimes people get lost in trying to gain or garner, people, numbers, and fans. But I feel it's very organic with Umi, so that's super cool. I'm still trying to think of that unspoken that unspoken rule. I feel like I didn't really have that, because I think, I don't really fall into the category of the typical Japanese idol, or like,
Mm-hmm.
I think in that sense it was like an advantage and a disadvantage, because the label didn't know what to do with me.
Right.
So in that sense, I don't think there was a rule for me. Thankfully, I
Mm-hmm.
came out, as a mixed artist in the era of R&B and hip hop, when that was, becoming mainstream. So that time, people were super open to that, and like very Western sounds and hip hop, and they call it black music here. It's really strange. Like R&B and like rap is like considered black music. Um, so yeah, I don't think I had there was an unspoken rule for me when I came
Mm-hmm.
out. Yeah.
Well, let's stay on that for a minute. And moving, into identity, we have another question from George Trip 3. What has been your biggest challenge as a singer who has grown up in the music industry?
I would say, um, finding my identity. Um, Being born and raised in Japan as a Black and Korean mix, it was not common. Like, um, I think I grew up with a sort of an identity crisis, or a complex, um, because there weren't people like me around. There weren't people like me I can look up to, um, in the industry. Well, I mean, in the Japanese music industry, there was no one like me. So I think I had a hard time, um, understanding my identity. It's a very homogenous society here. And, you know, it's not really, people aren't really questioning their identities here, like the States or somewhere like New York, where, it's such a melting pot, and it's very, how do you say, like, how do you say that in English? Like dog, how do you say it? Is it like doggy? Wait.
Oh, doggy.
Um, Not doggy
More
dog.
like
I have a hard time when I'm like speaking English. I'm like, how do I say this in English?
could you say that it
Cutthroat,
is a. Oh, say it again.
cutthroat,
Cutthroat.
cutthroat.
Cutthroat. Yeah, doggy dog.
Do you say doggy dog too?
Dog eat dog. Yep. Cutthroat. Savage. That's what kids are saying these days.
So somewhere like New York, like everyone has a very, yeah, very savage,
Yeah.
very strong sense of self.
Right.
And I didn't really have that here. So I wasn't really questioning my identity or anything like that. Um, so I don't know. I felt a little lost. And like musically, I started with a very R&B sound. And then a lot of people related to the very J-pop, like pop-driven music when that kind of sound came out. So it's like, what is the Crystal K sound? What represents me? And I had a hard time figuring that out. And I realized that, I do pop and R&B, and it is J-pop. It's J-pop and R&B, and whatever I sing, whether it's pop, it's going to sound R&B because when I sing it, it's automatically or naturally my blackness comes out sonically or melodically.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I had a hard time finding that balance in my identity through music.
It's
I don't
interesting.
know if I answered it
No,
right.
you did. You absolutely, and you actually double answered another question by Mahu Moreno, who asked you specifically if you could talk about your experience as a mixed race woman making music in Japan. So you answered that beautifully, and I actually want to pose this to Umi. As another young artist that is also mixed race. What is that experience like for you in this industry?
I would say it. I think in terms of my creation, I think it impacts me in like subtle subconscious ways because I grew up on such a unique, diverse range of music from like gospel soul music to J-pop and Japanese R&B and Japanese like just a whole new range of music that I think feeds into the melodies that I lean towards and like you said, Crystal, it like just gives me the umi uniqueness. No matter what beat I'm on, whatever track I'm on, like those things impact that. Um, and then it's also really interesting to see how many people within the Asian and Pacific Islander community really connect with me. And I feel like growing up, because I don't look Asian, I didn't really feel like people saw me as Asian, even though I felt like that was a part of my identity. So kind of being affirmed that like that is a real part of my identity. People still see the Asian roots that I have and can see themselves in me, even though like our skin tones might not be the same, has been really empowering for me.
Wow.
That's beautiful.
I have a question here from at J Luna asking about when your spiritual journey and when did it start? Because I know that's something that is very much important to you in your process and how you navigate your artistry. So the fans and your audience are very much in tune with understanding when did it start for you, and also to follow up. There's a question from Boo Woo. Not only when did you start your spiritual journey, but was there a point when it was a struggle for you to consistently keep it as a center of your process?
Mm-hmm. Good question. My spiritual journey, I would say, really began towards the end of high school. Um, when I started meditating, I was just experiencing a lot of anxiety, um, and like just feeling a lot of pressure. And someone had told me like you should try meditating. So I found this 5 minute meditation on YouTube. And I did it, and I had never experienced inner peace like that in my whole life. And I was like, oh, I have to start doing this. And so I just started looking up meditation videos, and through that, through the recommended videos on YouTube, you find things on like law of attraction, and just starting to learn about my own ability and power to create my reality and shift my reality through my energy, through my perception. And Then that evolved into like doing yoga, and journaling is a really central element to my spirituality, because it's kind of where I brain dump all the things on my mind. I create my manifestations, my reality for the day, how I want my releases to go, my projects to finish up. And it's also where I kind of communicate with my angels, my guides, and I ask for help and guidance through my journal. So those are kind of my daily practices: is journaling, yoga, meditation. But I would say my routine was, or just my spiritual practice, it started to get hard to maintain it. Honestly, a couple months ago, when I felt like I was too rigid about my spiritual practices, and I was like, if I don't meditate, then I'm not gonna have a good day, or if I don't journal, then I'm not like in the right vibration, and like just attaching to these expectations about things, and um, being way too hard on myself about something that should bring me joy. So I stopped for a little bit, and now I realize meditation is not just sitting and like meditating. It can be going for a walk, it can be cooking, it can be a conversation with a friend. So being more loose about those things has been really helpful to me. But I think journaling is something that I always hold as my center. That's the thing that like works for me, and I think the key is to find that one thing that like clicks for you and you want to do because you want to do it, not because you feel pressured to do it.
That's beautiful. And Crystal, do you have like a specific like meditation ritual that you incorporate within your process?
I've started, I think I've started my self-love journey. And I don't like hearing Umi talk about her process is very inspiring. And I'm like, damn, I was not nowhere near like nowhere near that when I was 22. But yeah, I've started to really pay more attention to myself and my body. I just turned 35, and I'm on my body journey and my self-love journey. And it's just like, you know, I never had like a routine. I was never a routine person. And I think being in the industry is hard to create a routine. So I was like, you know what? I need to start adulting and like create a routine for myself. So I started waking up early, and what I started doing from about like 2 years ago is wake up, or when I go to sleep, I literally say out loud what my gratitude, like what I'm grateful for. And I feel like that really can just help shift your mindset. You know, if you're having a bad day, or if you had a, you know, if you're going to sleep with something on your mind, just say out loud what you're grateful for, or wake up and just say all the thank yous and your gratitudes, and then you just shifting your mindset really helps. Because I don't know, you know, I think I had a moment where I was very like, I had anxiety issues too. So, and my mom was like, you know, all you have to do is just shift your mindset, and you can just change that easily. And I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna try that. So then I started doing the gratitude thing. And yeah, just talking out loud, because I can be very internal. I internalize things or overthink a lot. So I started just saying things out loud to myself. And I think that really helps, just getting your emotions out or your ideas out, and, you know, making it clear for you, and kind of, it can be affirmations, and I think that really helps. But I really admire Umi. on with her spiritual journey. Yeah,
Right.
'cause, yeah, I don't really do journals and stuff. Maybe I should.
And no, it's not. I don't think. I think it's different strokes for different folks, right? And I think you've mentioned your mom and your family, and it's something that I'm sure as you expressed very grateful for. And switching to Umi, we have this question from Who Is Ja. They're curious about how was it like growing up for you, and even to follow up with that. And do you feel particularly inclined to center your identity within your work? Because I feel we've
Mm.
heard a lot from Crystal about this particular contrast within herself and how it was the basis of her journey. So I would love for you to share with everyone about that for you.
Mm. So first part of the question was, what was it like growing up? And I would say I moved around a lot growing up, and I grew up in Washington, and just moved around different homes, different areas. But kind of a through line was I always was kind of either the only black person there, or just like the only person of color, or one of few people of color, one of few people within the Asian community who were there. So I always felt um, different, but also at a point you kind of get used to it and you stop, like, I guess, differentiating yourself so much. And then I moved to LA, and I was like, whoa, it's cool and it's okay to like really identify with your identity and to be proud of that, because I almost felt like I didn't have that experience growing up. So the past few years I've been like reclaiming and stepping into who I am. And in terms of putting those themes in my music, I don't try to think about it too like intensely of like how can I put my Asian experience or my black experience into the song, because then it can get like square-ish. I think the beauty of being multicultural is like the fluidity of everything. So I don't really think about it too much. When I do think about it more so is in music videos and like stories I want to tell. I try to cast a diverse range of people and like bring on directors and producers, etc., of different identities to increase diversity in that way. But in my music, I just try to stay true to
Mm-hmm.
myself, and I don't feel like I need to speak on a whole experience in my music and make it that like
Mm-hmm.
this. I think it just comes because I am of multiple cultures and identities.
I live. And following up to our last question, our new rule question, to your point specifically, and I pose this to both of you, and I start with you, Crystal. What's a new rule that you believe that artists of color, musicians, burgeoning musicians, or current ones should live by as it pertains to developing and growing their passions, in this day and age where it's a lot of things going on. It's a lot, here in the States, across the world,
Mm-hmm.
especially with the pandemic and all these injustices happening to marginalized communities across the board. It's a very tough time to find that balance and to strike that balance. And so, what do you feel is the new rule that they should live by?
Um, just trust in your instincts
Mm-hmm.
and don't doubt yourself and don't compare yourself. I think that is so big, especially in the times we live in right now with social media. Like everyone's posting their life online, and now that we're in a pandemic and we can't really go places or do what we want to do, we compare ourselves with other people, like, oh, like this person's doing that much and I'm just and I think we all tend to fall into that. But the reality is, like, you're you and they're them. So it makes no sense to compare because we're completely different human beings and we have different lights. We have our own special light. They can't do what you do. They don't have what you have. So don't doubt yourself. Just trust in yourself and don't rush. So yeah, just believe your light and keep working at it and just, yeah, trust your light and how do I say this? Like the time doesn't matter either.
Right.
Our journeys, we all have different journeys, so
It's true.
yeah. Just believe in yourself and just keep at your passion.
Oh, I'm really glad you said that. I feel like I needed to hear that.
Yeah, it's like I'm talking to myself too. Because it's so easy to compare. And I think that's so detrimental to your health, your mental health, and to yourself, Yeah.
It's true. What about you, Umi?
Oh, what advice would I have? I would say, be unique. Be okay with being unique. I feel like there can be pressures. I guess it's like tagging onto what Crystal said, but especially in the Black community, there can be pressures to make a certain type of music or to pigeonhole the self where other people may pigeonhole you into like a brand or an image or this or that. So like not succumbing to the pressures of that and like staying authentic to self, I think is important. And to have fun because our ancestors, I feel like they didn't get to have all the fun we get to have now. So like have all the fun being creative for you and for the family, for the ancestors.
Yeah.
For the culture.
That's so important. That's so important. Having fun is, I think, the most important thing because people can feel that. People can see that.
Yeah.
And if you're having fun, they'll have fun.
Right.
So
true. That's a great note to end on. I want to thank you both. Thank you, Umi. Thank you, Crystal K. I appreciate this time that we spent together. This was so enlightening, so much fun. And thank you all out there for your questions. And stay tuned for the next episode. Well, when we do press for the following episode for our upcoming guests. But stay tuned. But thank you both. And thank you all out there. Y'all have a good one.
Thank you so much.
Bye. Stay blessed, everyone.
Bye. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode. If you have a question that you want to ask our guests in upcoming episodes, we welcome you to ask them down in the comments below or visit the Lions Management Instagram page and my own Instagram page to respond to regular open calls for questions through our Instagram stories, or you can just drop them in our DMs. Links are in the description. Remember, The New Rules is a series with tangible conversations constructed by you. Yes, you. Join in the conversation and help me build these talks the way they should be, where you learn what you deserve. Can't wait to see your questions and see you next time.